I have absolutely got to thank the 45th, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. A lot of the fake news media out there, and there are some good ones in the back there. There's some bad ones too, let's be honest. But they wanted to write a story that this campaign would be the death of Donald Trump's America First agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, it ain't the death of the America First agenda.
Well, that was a huge victory by businessman and author J.D. Vance in last night's Senate Republican primary race in Ohio. Also marked another win by a candidate endorsed by President Donald J. Trump. President 45 is 55-0 so far this primary season. Joining me now is political analyst Mark Halperin, along with presidential historian, Reagan biographer, and author of April 1945, Mr. Craig Shirley. Gentlemen, welcome. Mark, you first. The weak McConnell, Murkowski, Romney Republicans falling like dominoes, and Republicans who think that they should actually be an opposition party to Democrats who embrace socialism and anti-Americanism. Those Republicans are starting to win. What are your takeaways?
Well, it'd be a fascinating parallel universe if the press didn't have to hide behind covering the abortion story, which is a big story, and had to cover what happened in Ohio last night, because it's unambiguously a signal. Donald Trump lifted J.D. Vance up on his shoulders and got him that nomination. Sometimes in politics, there's overinterpretation or there's mixed data and you can't really be clear. There's no ambiguity here. Donald Trump won that primary for his candidate, and he may not win them all, but this was the clearest cut example of Donald Trump's capacity to influence Republican primary voters.
Yeah, there's so much misery going on around the country right now. I think Republican voters aren't inclined to listen to Mitch McConnell or Mitt Romney drone on how we got to compromise with the misery. Craig, the current occupier of the Oval Office, Joe Biden, spent his day claiming that his reckless spending is making our economy strong. This after, of course, the first quarter turned in negative growth. Amidst his failures, Biden lashed out at those who believe in the America First agenda. Listen.
Let me tell you about this ultra MAGA agenda. It's extreme, as most MAGA things are. It will actually raise taxes on 75 million American families, over 95% of whom make less than $100,000 a year. This MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history.
Well, of course, as he always does, he's lying about Senator Tim Scott's tax plan. Gee, you know, that might be considered racist by Democrat standards. Anyway, he's bashing everyday Americans who love their country, put America first. Such a unifier he is, eh, Craig?
No, yeah, isn't that interesting? He ran as a so-called unifier, but he's been anything but. Look, Chris, we are through the looking glass. He says black and the rest of the world sees white. And that's what's going on right now, is that he's talking in a bubble. He's talking to himself. He's not communicating to the American people. And the people who are listening to him are rejecting him, which is why, in part, the J.D. Vance won so big in Ohio last night. You look at the vote margin for all the Republicans in Ohio versus the vote margin for all the Democrats in Ohio yesterday, and it was better than 2-1 for the Republicans. And that is just another telltale sign of the old time pestilence, the Old Testament pestilence that's coming for the Democratic Party in November. This is not going to be a tsunami. It's going to be like an old town pestilence that goes through the town and wipes out everybody who's Democrat or doesn't have lamb's blood painted over their lintel. The Democrats are in free fall, and they have no place to go but down.
Yeah, and folks, unlike the biased press, we in conservative media correct our mistakes right away. I was misinformed. It was not Tim Scott's plan. It was Rick Scott's plan. So I want to get that correction out there. Meantime, Mark, we're continuing to follow this leaked rough draft of the Supreme Court's opinion to overturn Roe versus Wade. Democrats, including Pocahontas, freaking out over this alleged decision by the court. Watch this.
I am angry.
Angry and upset?
Angry and upset and determined.
I've never seen you so angry. You seem to be...
This is what the Republicans have been working toward this day for decades. They have been out there plotting, carefully cultivating these Supreme Court justices so they could have a majority on the bench.
Okay, meanwhile, in West Los Angeles, gathering of predominantly pro-abortion Democrats turned into a riot. Democrats clearly think the ability to slaughter children in the womb will save them politically in the fall. Mark, are they right?
Well, I think this is just from a political point of view. It's better for them than talking about inflation and the border. But most of my discussions suggest, even most Democratic strategists think this can help them on the margins in the midterms, perhaps. But part of the challenge is they're frustrated, just as they're frustrated about voting issues, just as they're frustrated about the environment. But they're going to have to go back to their voters and say, we can't get it done because the votes aren't there for them to do anything to stop the expected Supreme Court decision.
Craig, back in 1973, Biden was quoted saying a woman does not have the sole choice of what happens to her body. But today, with others writing his words for him, he's a complete 180. It's what Rush Limbaugh used to say, hypocrisy never sticks to Democrats. Why do you think that is?
Because the way the culture behaves, and the way the national media behaves, is that hypocrisy sticks to them, but it's just not trumpeted by the pseudo-intellectual elites in New York and Washington. But in the rest of the country and on Newsmax and talk radio and our websites and things like that, we are nailing them for being hypocrites, and it will come home to roost, come November. But one thing I want, Chris, just think about it for a second. Elizabeth Warren is crying about her ability to slaughter unborn children. What is wrong with that picture? That she's crying over she's not crying about saving children. She's crying about taking away her ability to kill children. There's something deeply wrong with the American left today, as led by Joe Biden and the entire Democratic Party, the entire Democratic left.
No core, no values, in my humble opinion. Mark Halperin, Craig Shirley, gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate it.